In this lab, we'll be controlling a servo motor using pulse width modulation. So in our circuit, we have a potentiometer attached to pin A1, and we'll be using pin 2 to deliver our PWM signal. Now usually pin 2 isn't compatible with PWM, but we'll be writing that in code, so we can actually use any digital pin. Now something that you'll notice is that our loop is pretty empty, and that's because we're going to be using this function right here to determine our signal. So for a small circuit like ours, there's not that many tangible benefits to having this function instead of just putting this all into the loop. But for a much larger project, where our servo motor is going to be determined using like more complicated sensors, there can be a lot of benefits to having a simple function like this that we can just call in our loop. So our PWM function begins with this map. And what we're doing here is we're taking the signal from A1, our potentiometer, which is from 0 to 1023, and we're going to be scaling it again to a minimum value of 600 and a maximum value of 2400. And this is going to be our time in microseconds for our control period. The lab also wants us to print the angle that the servo motor is at, and to do this we'll be using another map function which takes this x value that we generate, which is from 600 to 2400 right here, and we'll be scaling it again from -90 to 90, and this will be the angle that the servo motor is at. And we'll be printing this to the serial monitor. So then the last chunk of code right here is the PWM signal itself. So it starts out by turning on the signal at pin 2, and we'll be turning that on for X amount of seconds, which is again between 600 and 2400. X amount of microseconds. Then we'll be turning off the signal for the remaining time, which is determined by the period which we'll set using this int t value. Right now it's set to 10 milliseconds or 10,000 microseconds. And we'll be subtracting this t period by the x amount of time, the active time. So basically, our period is always going to be consistently this value in microseconds. So if we go to the serial monitor, we'll see right now it's going to be printing our angle, and as we turn the potentiometer to the left, our value starts to decrease until it hits -90, and as we turn it to the right, it'll start to increase, and it maxes out at 90. So now let's see this circuit in action.